evening, everybody, and welcome to Doc's Racing Digest here on Sunday evening, March 18th. I hope everybody had a wonderful St. Patrick's Day and maybe had a little bit of a luck of the Irish at the track. I realize I've been away the last couple of weeks, so there's a ton of stuff to cover here on Doc's Racing Digest, so we're going to get right to it in a second. I do apologize for being away the last couple of weeks. I was helping the horse rescue that I am very active with, the Pennsylvania Racehorse Rehoming, Rehabilitation, and Rescue, with a couple of fundraising events, including some of you may have seen. I got last weekend to spend about 50 hours in one of their stalls as a fundraising event for them. It went very, very well. While we didn't quite hit our goal of $10,000, we did get enough to go ahead and raise the money, enough of which will go now towards Silent Ruler's final vet bills. So hopefully all of those will be paid off, and we'll be talking a little bit about Silent Ruler a little bit later in the show. But like I said, a lot's happened over the last, 2 or 3 weeks here especially, and we're going to start right in on the Kentucky Derby Trail and the Triple Crown Trail. That's what everybody wants to see, and we are going to start off first with the return, as I set things up here a little bit, of Good Magic in the Fountain of Youth Stakes, and basically, this was going to be kind of his first test to see if really he could maintain his form from 2 to 3, and everybody kind of knows who follows racing what happened, but if you happen to not follow racing quite as much and want to get a little caught up on the Derby Trail, let's take a look and see what happened.
And they're off in the Fountain of Youth. The favorite Good Magic was away very well. Strike Power has speed from down toward his inside, and on the far outside, that's Promises Fulfilled looking to get over. And from the top shelf, Promises Fulfilled and Irad Ortiz Jr. quick enough to cross and clear. They lead by 2. Strike Power is second. Storm Runner at the rail is third. Good Magic is perched off the top flight, racing in fourth, followed by Gotta Go and Machismo. Then it's the gray. He takes charge third last. Second last is Marconi, and the early trailer is Peppered. They race into the backstretch now after completing a quarter in 23 and 4. With the advantage, Promises Fulfilled leads a length and a quarter. Storm Runner is at the rail. He's moving through now. Storm Runner had to tap on the brakes. Wasn't much room there. Strike Power now reclaims second, with Good Magic watching the action unfold while 2.5 lengths off the pace setter. Peppered is moved out of last ahead of Gotta Go, and he takes charge. And now the trailer is Marconi. The race to the half-mile point. Promises Fulfilled goes to the opening half-mile in 48 and 1. Maintains the lead. Strike Power second. Good Magic poised to strike, and he begins to move up. He's third while 3 wide. Storm Runner at the inside is now fourth, moving ahead of Gotta Go, who's back to fifth. He's dropped better than 5 lengths off the lead. Benatis take charge to the outside of Marconi. From between horses, it's Machismo, and now dropping anchor to trail is Peppered as they round the far turn. First finish line in use in the Fountain of Youth. Promises Fulfilled still has the lead. Strike Power is second. Good Magic will need to do better. He's third, only 2.5 lengths off the lead. Then it's a gap of 3 to Machismo, who finds his best stride, and they turn in. The leader, Promises Fulfilled, tries to do it every step. Strike Power to the attack one more time. Good Magic has been defeated. Then Machismo, less than a 16th to go. The leader is still Promises Fulfilled, and Promises Fulfilled will spring the upset to win the Fountain of Youth under Irad Ortiz Jr. Strike Power was second. Good Magic third, then Machismo, and 144 flat.
And there you go. So a little bit of an upset there with Promises Fulfilled, but son of Shackelford and trained by Shackelford's trainer, Dale Romans. Dale may have himself a good one there. Shackelford kind of took that same route to the Derby, and it'll be interesting to see him potentially come back in the Florida Derby if they choose to go that route or not. Good Magic. Yeah, maybe he came up a little short. Maybe he was a touch tired there in the end. He looked really good, at least for the first 3/4 of a mile. And I really thought he was just going to kind of ease on through, but he just kind of came up a little empty in the lane. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes for his next start. At least from what Chad Brown is saying, his trainer, it doesn't look like he's going to go on to the Florida Derby. It looks like it's going to be between the Wood Memorial and the Bluegrass, although I'm hearing they're leaning a little bit more towards the Bluegrass at this point. So certainly can't rule him out, but definitely something to watch, and interesting to see what happens with Promises Fulfilled. I know there's a huge following for Shackelford babies out there, people who love Shackelford. There's a whole Facebook group and page devoted just to Shackelford and his offspring. So definitely check that out. The page is called Shack is Back, and put together by some fans who just really, really love Shackelford. So certainly one, that he will probably not have any distance limitations as he goes on. So we're going to move on here a little bit, and now we're going to head to the Big Apple, and we're going to look at the Gotham, which just happened. And this, Kieran may or may not have a good one on the Derby Trail after this one, so take a look.
They're in the gate. And they're off in the Gotham. Free Drop Billy began well, but is now taken back. 9 Root, Old Time Revival, flashing sharp early speed. And here comes Cove Blue along the inside to be part of the speed brigade. Enticed is fourth through the opening furlong, about 3 lengths off the early tempo. Dial Operator moves through along the inside now and is about 2.5 lengths off the leader. Beautiful Shot is racing in between rivals. Then Firenze Fire racing side by side with Free Drop Billy, and a long way back to the trailer where she told me to go. 23 seconds flat for the opening quarter. It's Old Time Revival on the outside and Cove Blue at the rail. 3 lengths back to 9 Root in the yellow colors third. Enticed getting a good trip extreme outside. Free Drop Billy on the outside of Firenze Fire. At the rail, it's Dial Operator, and Beautiful Shot is shuffled back about 7 lengths off the lead. Still a big gap to where she told me to go. 46 and 2, a very lively fraction here. Enticed making a bold bid after Old Time Revival, who shows the way to the quarter pole. It's Old Time Revival in front by 2 lengths. Enticed, Free Drop Billy moves up on the outside, and then Firenze Fire as the field turns for home. Old Time Revival trying to pull off the upset. Enticed is chasing with determination. Free Drop Billy on the outside, and then Firenze Fire. They're in the final furlong. Enticed lengthening his stride, trying to get to this long shot Old Time Revival, and he collars him at the 16th pole. It will be Enticed, sharp in victory, and wrapped up by Junior Alvarado as they stroll home in the Gotham. Old Time Revival second, Free Drop Billy third, Firenze Fire was fourth.
So, Enticed looking pretty professional there in his win. Did have to work, I think, a little bit more than maybe some of us would like to see as far as getting past that long shot on the lead. But definitely a race to build off to. He's a big, strapping colt and certainly probably will only get better with distance. As the distances increase. So my guess is you're probably going to see him potentially pointing for the Wood Memorial in a couple of weeks, which will be a really interesting race to kind of see how all that shakes out. Again, he's obviously going to have to make some more steps forward. I don't think his figs came back super, super high, so if you're a figure type person or player, that's certainly something that you want to look into a little bit as well. So now we're going to go out to California to the race that everybody wanted to see so far on the Triple Crown Trail. Obviously, it did happen last weekend, but we're going to recap it here. It is the San Felipe. It was the matchup, at least on the pre-Derby trail, that everybody was waiting for, with Bolt d'Oro, who was the superstar 2-year-old last year, who just kind of fizzled a little bit in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and Mackenzie, who is just this hard-knocking horse from the Baffert barn. So, obviously, for everybody who's seen it, they did not disappoint, and, we'll talk a little bit about it as soon as we watch the replay right here.
Ready for the San Felipe. Racing. Mackenzie is away beautifully with Lombo, Bolt d'Oro, and Cantaka down the outside. Aquila livened up in the early going by Pedrosa, moving up within a length of the lead out 3 wide. He moves past Cantaka, Ayakara, and Peace the last couple. On the swing out of the stretch, and Lombo leads Mackenzie and Aquila. Bolt d'Oro tucking in fourth, 2.5 lengths to Cantaka. A similar margin, Ayakara with 6 furlongs to go. And at the tail of the field is Peace. He's now 5 lengths behind the second last horse. Lombo, the Lewis winner, leads from Mackenzie and Aquila. Bolt d'Oro smothered away fourth. A half dozen lengths to the San Vicente winner Cantaka, followed along the back stretch by Ayakara, and 4 lengths to Peace. They're a half mile from home. Lombo by a neck to Mackenzie, and a similar margin. Aquila 3 out from Bolt d'Oro, 5 lengths to Cantaka. He's followed by Ayakara. Peace bringing up the rear. It's Lombo by a neck. Mackenzie travels smoothly, and he gets on terms with Lombo, passing the 3/8 pole. Bolt d'Oro travelling into a pocket on the inside of Aquila. 2.5 lengths to Cantaka, and they're clear of Peace, who overtakes Ayakara. Mackenzie is the new leader. Castellano hooks Bolt d'Oro into the clear, and he's ranging forward with great purpose at the top of the stretch. And Bolt d'Oro moves up alongside of Mackenzie, and they're racing tightly. They were brushing in upper stretch. Mackenzie fights back underneath Bolt d'Oro. The San Felipe living up to its billing. A 16th left to go. Mackenzie on the inside, and Bolt d'Oro in a spine-tingling spectacle at the Great Race Place. Bolt d'Oro, Mackenzie, they hit the line. Mackenzie beats Bolt d'Oro in a photo. 6 clear of Cantaka, Peace, and then Ayakara 5th.
All right, so now everybody who obviously follows racing and followed that through after a long inquiry and some objections after that lasted about 10 minutes. Mackenzie, who did obviously finish in front, was taken down and placed second, and Baltoro was moved up to the win. I think you could probably very easily go any way on that call. There's a lot of people that felt it was the right call based on the head-ons, and it was, you know, again, more right towards the finish line there where Mackenzie did come out a little bit and just kind of bump him. You know, you could also say that Baltoro came in on Mackenzie on the turn, and you know, it should have been mutual. Really none of that, you know, obviously from a financial standpoint and very important points on the Derby Trail, but my guess is both Baltoro and Mackenzie are going to end up in the starting gate for the Kentucky Derby, so the points aspect of it, probably not that big of a deal. But here's the great thing from a fan's perspective. That was one hell of a race. That's what we need to see more of. You know, these two horses just throwing down in the stretch and, you know, just creating really what probably will become a little bit of a rivalry. And now I've heard that, you know, maybe Baffert won't send Mackenzie into the Santa Anita Derby. Maybe Baltoro will pass it. Why? Why can't people, these people, run their horses against each other multiple times? You want to settle it. Don't you know, fall for letting the stewards kind of settle it. Settle it on the racetrack in the next race. You know, horses in a lot of ways need these tighteners. You know, you see, everybody seems to want to get these very easy preps in and then get to the Derby. And a lot of times it just blows up in their faces. I don't understand why you just don't want to potentially move forward off a race like that. Point them both for the Santa Anita Derby. Let's build up some hype here. You've got Baltoro, you've got Mackenzie. The two of them, it'll be the rematch. Obviously, there may not be that much more going in it, so it's probably going to come down to these two again. So, you know, let's give the fans what they want in a really good race. Don't separate them and go looking for an easier spot on the way to the Derby. And I realize it is the Derby, and that's the goal for everybody and stuff like that. But, you know, sometimes you just want to see these two horses just go at it again. And who knows, maybe this will be the type of rivalry that we kind of need in these sports. You know, we got to get these horses running against each other more than one time or two times a year. You know, that's what's going to build the fan interest and get some talking going between the two camps as to who potentially is better. So, you know, that's my thoughts on the race. It was a great race, and again, the DQ, it could have been a DQ or a non-DQ. It could have gone either way. So, you know, who really knows one way or the other if that was potentially going to eventually work out or not work out. So we're going to look at a couple of other prep races that have occurred recently in the last couple of weeks on the Triple Crown Trail right after this word on an important fan event that's coming up in November.
This is great for the game.
EquestriaCon was amazing. Anybody who was there the first year, I was up there as part of Thorofan and just really taking everything in. It was truly an amazing event. I mean, it's great to see that, you know, it's going to show up Breeders' Cup week in the heart of Bluegrass Country where the Breeders' Cup is going to be this year. Hopefully the momentum will build. It's going to be a bigger venue, I think, which is going to allow for more potential exhibitors there and hopefully for more talks. You know, I think there are some things that hopefully they can tweak a little bit to make things better for the fans, but really kudos to the three, Dan, Kitty, and his name just went out of my head for a reason. But those three, the three founders of it really have just done an amazing job of putting that together and building the momentum again for this year. I can't wait to see what they really come out with. So definitely, you know, keep an eye on EquestriaCon.com to get your tickets and get down there for that first couple of days of Breeders' Cup week. It can't ask for a better venue than Louisville in the fall for the Breeders' Cup. So EquestriaCon's really going to be good. So moving on back now into the prep races. We're going to now move down south to Tampa Bay, and this is the Tampa Bay Derby, their big premier Derby prep for the year, and we are going to try to see maybe, you know, is Flame away for real? You know, obviously burst onto the scene with that win in the Sam F. Davis, very game over Catholic boy, and was then nominated after that to the Triple Crown. He wasn't nominated before that, so let's take a look and see how he did in his true test, the Tampa Bay Derby.
He steps in. They're at the post. And they're off and running in the Tampa Bay Derby World of Trouble breaks inwardly, now straightened up and gunning right for the early lead. Quip comes away second. Flame Away up on the outside is third, and the last horse away is the long shot, a Rozzy-like move. Around the clubhouse turn they go, as expected. World of Trouble drops over to the rail and now has the lead by a length. Up on the outside, Quip is right there near second. Then it's a length and a half farther back. Vino Rosso settles into stride down along the inner rail. 2.5 lengths farther back. Untamed Domain on the outside. Toward the rail, the late running Tis Mischief. A Rozzy-like move is there from between horses and the traitor. Grandpa Knows Best as they settle for their journey up the backstretch. World of Trouble, the Pasco winner, has the lead. Quip alongside now second. 2 lengths farther back. From the outside, Flame Away is there third, and the Sam Davis winner is on the move. Vino Rosso is down along the inner rail fourth. Untamed Domain, making his dirt debut, is ranging up on the outside as they leave the half-mile marker. World of Trouble and Ortiz still the leader, but there's Quip on the outside. He's moving up to challenge second. Flame Away is underway third. Vino Rosso, he's under an all-out ride at this point, not responding with a quarter of a mile to run. World of Trouble is trying to take him start to finish. Quip on the outside second. Up on the far outside, Flame Away swings wide for the drive as they straighten away for home. World of Trouble and Quip on the outside. They're locked in battle. Flame Away racing erratically down to the wire. World of Trouble along the rail and Quip on the outside. They're still heads apart. Quip is now going the better of the two, and Flame Away flying on late. Getting up for second. World of Trouble a tiring third in a game effort. Running time on the board.
Looks like a potential another good one emerging all of a sudden out of nowhere. Quip, who, might be a pretty decent one, so you definitely want to keep your eye on him. Certainly may move forward off that race. Flame Away came running at the end. Obviously no disgrace in that performance. I think a lot of people wanted to see a little bit more out of Vino Rossi. I kind of liked him, based on his performance in the Sam F. Davis. Didn't really move forward too much in that race as far as I'm concerned, but, obviously now we're starting to get a little bit more congealed here on the road to the Derby, as we're obviously under 2 months away from it now, and these horses are really going to have to start proving themselves. The point totals go up, and the races really start meaning a lot more. So, kind of looking at the next race here, we're going to take a look at a race that happened at Turfway Park, and it is called the Jeff Ruby Stakes. Those of you that are familiar with Jeff Ruby Stakes, like, wait a minute, isn't that a restaurant guy or some guy? And yes, it is. He worked out a deal to sponsor Turfway Park's premier Derby prep race. For those wondering, it was called the Spiral for the longest time and just had different sponsors along the way, the Jim Beam Spiral, for instance. But now, Jeff Ruby, the steakhouse owner and very outspoken, very flamboyant personality, worked out a deal with Turfway Park to sponsor the race, so it is now known as the Jeff Ruby Stakes. So let's take a look at what happened. The Spiral, I mean, you go back maybe to Animal Kingdom, he obviously had a win in that, but you just don't know because it still is on the poly track how horses are going to potentially do. But let's take a look to see who won that.
And they are off in the 47th edition of the $200,000 Jeff Ruby Stakes. And from the middle, Dreamer's Point will get the first call. Muggeritz will prompt the pace as well. To the inside, the Battaglia winner, Magical Meister's a close-up third. Against the fence, Cash Call Kitten away racing in fourth. Archigillis, so that one's outside in fifth. And then on the far outside comes Blended Citizen as they charge into the first turn. Emerging with the lead, it's Muggeritz. To the inside, Magical Meister is second. Dreamer's Point's a close-up third. Archigillo's hard to handle in fourth. Just got passed by Ride Comet. And then a link for the back on the inside. Cash Call Kitten races sixth. Up on the outside, Aerowalk is seventh. Towards his inside, Blended Citizen is eighth. Then a link for the back to Pony Up, who's racing in ninth. Has it in the middle, racing in 10th. Then comes Zanesville 11th. And a long way last is Sky Promise, who's 12th and trailing, and about 18 lengths off the lead as they continue to run up the backside. First quarter, 25 seconds flat. The half was in 48-3, and all of a sudden, Muggeritz has opened up a 6-length lead as they head into the far turn in the Ruby. So Muggeritz shows the way by just about 7 lengths. On the inside, racing in second, Dreamer's Point, ratcheting up the pressure to the outside. Here comes Aerowalk. Between those two, Ride a Comet emerging, and Blended Citizen is full of run as they continue to race around the turn, and they're just outside the quarter-mile pole. And Muggeritz still with the lead, but the whip comes out. The lead is 4 lengths. Ride a Comet is coming at him. Through from between horses, Blended Citizen. Aerowalk is next. Pony Up in Zanesville is finishing with good energy down the stand side as they have an eighth of a mile to go. go, and Muggeritz is still there. Way out wide, here comes Zanesville between horses Airwalk as a racing deep stretch. Pony Up emerges. Pony Up to the outside, Blended Citizen to the inside, down to the wire. A photo finish that goes to Blended Citizen, who's one step closer to a Saturday date in Louisville, as Blended Citizen rides the rail to victory in the 47th running of the Jeff Ruby Stakes.
You know, will you see any of those horses potentially in the starting gate on the first Saturday in May? Maybe. I mean, it was a points race. I don't think the winner's going to have enough points necessarily to get into the first, into the gate. It all just depends on how things shake out. Certainly a horse can move forward off that, but, you know, a lot of us, we want to see that progression, especially onto a dirt surface after that, so it'll be interesting to see where he goes after this win. You know, hopefully to one of the more solid Derby preps where, you know, we'll obviously get a little bit better idea of where he kind of fits with all of that stuff. So, so those are kind of some of the prep races that have happened again, and we're going to look at a couple of others that happened this past weekend. But, of course, first, I know everybody's waiting to hear what today's trivia question is going to be. All right, it's time once again to play Doc's Racing Trivia to find out exactly how much you know about this wonderful sport of thoroughbred racing. Today's question. Oftentimes you'll hear in the stretch drive the announcers say they're approaching the final furlong, or they've got 1 furlong to go. So, exactly how long is a furlong? Think about that, and we'll be back with the answer a little bit later in the show. Alright, so think about that question, and we'll have the answer for you a little bit later. It's probably an easy question to anybody who's a true racing fan, but anybody who might be tuning in for the first time and want to learn more about this sport, we're going to try to give you as much in fan education as we possibly can. And speaking of fan education and kind of a fan's vantage point of things, there obviously the big talk is a horse out of the Baffert barn, not Mackenzie, not Salmont, not any of these others that we're going to talk about, but a horse named Justify. And it's very interesting because he has not raced as a 2-year-old, and we'll talk a little bit about that after we look over the rest of the preps. And he's a horse that technically has no points yet on the Kentucky Derby trail, which is very, very important because it means it's going to be all or none for his next start to be able to get into the race. But I'm going to show you, and this comes courtesy of the Los Angeles Times here, who really did a wonderful video thing on this. But I want people to pay attention to, because you always see the view of from the TV cameras and the high def and all this stuff. But what's great about this video is it does so justify just absolutely romping and doing it with such ease in his second start, which was an allowance score around 2 turns. But it gives the fans perspective, and this is why it's so cool to get out to the track to just experience this, experience the horses up close. So let's take a look.
This is still good.
Extremely impressive, really passed the 2-turn test with flying colors. A little bit of the second race jitters in the post parade in the beginning, but man, he just took a deep breath and chilled out. For a young horse, man, he's got a great mind that might allow him to catch up maybe sooner than what a normal horse would take, because of his talent and the mind to go with it. So he settled. He would have took the dirt, put a little bit, just enough. I didn't want to get carried away with it, and he just kept passing every test, so then I just stayed out of the way.
So, obviously, definitely a very, very talented horse, and one that just is electric to watch on the track. And as you can see, you know, you got to get out to the track and experience, from getting up close in the paddock, seeing these horses in the paddock, watching it from the stands, just feeling the electricity that's in the fans around the stands. So don't always just watch stuff on TV. Get out to your track, even if it's on a regular racing, you know, a weekday or something like that. You never know where the next superstar is going to emerge. And speaking of potential superstars, you know, you looked at Justify, obviously owned by some of the superstars of the sport, and trained by Bob Baffert, ridden by Mike Smith, who obviously are some of the stars there. And then you kind of look at stars of other sports, and a specific tight end for the New England Patriots, perhaps. He has a horse named after him that is taking a very, very unusual route to the Kentucky Derby, and we are going to show you that right now in his prep race that happened, across the pond.
And the road to the Kentucky Derby starts here. And they're off. With Courthouse slow to begin, Ventura Knight towards the outside has gone and taken the early lead. Bobby Biscuit will try and apply pressure to his outside. Fortune's Pearl, and then towards the inner is 3 Weeks. Gronkowski is taken back off the speed today, but he is very keen, racing towards the outside of Ambient, and having broken a step slow, Courthouse has the best view of all as they make the run along the back stretch, and it's Ventura Knight and PJ McDonald who've got a lead now of just over a length. Bobby Biscuit is racing in second. To the inside, the grey. 3 Weeks is in third, and Fortune's Pearl is in fourth position. Gronkowski is rank, really pulling hard on the outside of Ambient, and still a break of a length and a half to Courthouse as they go towards halfway. And at this point, Gronkowski makes a sweeping move around the outside, and in the space of 100 yards, he has moved from fifth to now press the lead. Ventura Knight on the inside, on the outside, Gronkowski back in third now, and travelling well is 3 Weeks. Towards that one's outside, Bobby Biscuit is being driven. Then Ambient, then Fortune's Pearl, who was shuffled back, and Courthouse. Down now towards the final quarter mile. Ventura Knight. Gronkowski now set down for the drive. Towards the inside is Ambient. Courthouse is coming on. Down the outside, Fortune's Pearl. They've just got over a furlong to go. Jamie Spencer, Gronkowski now have the lead over Courthouse in second. Staying on Fortune's Pearl, but with another 50 yards to go, it is Gronkowski who's out in front, and it is Gronkowski who wins. Courthouse was in second, and in third, Fortune's Pearl, but it is Gronkowski who continues on the road to Kentucky Derby 1.
Hey, you know, looked really good. The gallop out was strong. Obviously, he's got the name Gronkowski behind him, so you know if he makes it to the Derby, it's going to be quite a party up there in Millionaires Row at Churchill Downs on the first Saturday in May, because Gronk certainly does know how to bring the people out, and definitely does know how to live it up. So it's going to be very interesting to see if this horse does move forward. Obviously, there's a lot of questions to be asked here. You know, obviously that was on an all-weather track, which is a synthetic track. It was turning the wrong direction, technically, if you look at the way they race over there versus racing over here. And, you know, who did he really beat? Probably nobody that big or important. And the pace dynamics of the races, obviously, over there are a lot different than they are in the Derby. Still, a very interesting thing from a fan's perspective, and you know there's going to be a lot of New England Patriot fans who are going to be cheering for Gronkowski if he does make it into that starting gate, and definitely will hopefully bring some new interesting fans to the sport as far as that goes. So we're going to look at one more race here as we kind of move through, and this was a race that just happened yesterday as we're finally caught up here on Doc's Racing Digest with all of the Derby preps, and it was the Rebel, and we did talk about Justify and how now he's got to move forward a little bit and obviously work to earn some points on the Derby Trail, because it is going to be do or die for him really in his next start to get into the starting gate. And there's another horse that we profiled a couple of weeks ago called Magnum Moon, who's trained by Todd Pletcher, who looked very, very good in his wins so far, both you know, a maiden and an allowance race down in Tampa. And so this was going to be his big step up in the Rebel, and he was going to be facing some pretty good horses. One being Solomini from the Baffert barn, Sporting Chance from the Lucas barn, who won the Hopeful last year and looked pretty good. You know, in the Southwest, didn't really get a chance to run in that race. Was kind of all over the place. So it'd be interesting to see how he comes back in this one. And also a couple of others in there that, you know, certainly might prove to be a little bit of a test. So let's take a look and see how Magnum Moon and the others did in the Rebel yesterday at Oaklawn.
They're at the post. They're off.
Good start for Magnum Moon and Curlin's Honor. Title Ready has asked for speed, and he is sent through on the inside. Title Ready, intent on getting to the front. Solomini and Sporting Chance away 4th and 5th. Then comes Pryor and High North with Higher Power and Combatant, and the early trailer is Zing Zang. Title Ready, pumped up to the backstretch. He leads 3/4 of a length from Curlin's Honor in second. Sporting Chance is going to make an early move, and here comes Sporting Chance in the blue cap all the way up to 3rd. Magnum Moon goes right with him, and Magnum Moon has put his head into 3rd. Meanwhile, there is Solomini, 5th at the rail and less than a length and a half off the lead. Pryor is next. He's 6th with 3 lengths to make up. Higher Power and High North are next with Combatant between horses, and the trailer is Zing Zang, less than a half mile to run. In the 58th, Rebel and Title Ready is still the leader. Title Ready, a half length in front. Magnum Moon has just taken over second. Sporting Chance is following him. Solomini stays at the rail, and now Solomini is kicked into gear, and here he comes through. Solomini within a length and a half of the lead. Combatant is moving well. Here's Combatant up into 5th and 3.5 from the lead. Lots of chances top of the stretch. Magnum Moon has taken over the lead. He's 2 lengths in front from Title Ready. Combatant splits horses. Solomini's got to go from there to the outside end. Higher Power and Magnum Moon comes to the 16th pole, and now he's 3 in front. Combatant and Solomini chase him to the wire. It is Magnum Moon, undefeated and a Rebel winner. Magnum Moon blew him away, beat him by 3. Solomini 2nd, Combatant finished 3rd.
Well, it looks like he passed his test too, folks. Magnum Moon looked very, very impressive. Maybe a little green in the stretch there, but obviously still learning. Son of Malibu Moon, so you know he can get the distance, because Malibu Moon sired one of my favorite racehorses of the last couple of years in Orb. And Orb has gone on to produce some pretty good 2-year-olds so far out there on the track. So going to be very interesting to see where Magnum Moon goes next. I don't know if they're going to keep him down for the Arkansas Derby, or Fletcher's obviously got the juggernaut of horses, as does Baffert, so they're all going to try to shift and keep each other separate to try to get the points. But as you can see, you know, he's definitely got some points now looking at the Kentucky Derby picture to be able to get into the gate there. So let's take a look now at the updated Derby standings as they stand right now. And you can see a lot of people, you know, have moved up. Bolt Oro, Enticed, they're probably guaranteed spots. You know, a lot of horses now, we look at it, if they're anywhere in that 50-point or above range, they definitely going to get it. Promises Fulfilled, with his big win in the Fountain of Youth, definitely will probably get in there. Magnum Moon, Quip, who looked really, really good as we saw. Mackenzie, Good Magic, who certainly potentially has the ability to rebound in his next start. Solomini, obviously you're probably going to definitely hear more of him. And Flame Away, so probably at least with the top 10 you've got going there right now. I'm sure, barring injury or some sort of setback or things like that, you're probably going to see all of these horses in the starting gate on the first Saturday in May. And that's going to bring us now to looking at what some of the upcoming races are on the road to the Kentucky Derby. And starting next weekend, we've got the Louisiana Derby and the Sunland Derby. And for those of you that forget, the Sunland Derby did produce a little long shot horse there named Mind That Bird. So definitely you've got to watch. These Derby winners can come from anywhere. And then the following weekend, obviously got the UAE Derby and the Florida Derby. So obviously the big prep races coming down in Florida. And then the following week, as we get really into crunch time, you've got the big 3, the Wood Memorial, the Bluegrass, and the Santa Anita Derby. And then the following week after that, the Arkansas Derby. The Lexington has some minor points to it, but, you know, probably not enough unless it's a horse that's already got some points to make it into the Derby. But look at the point totals, folks. Anybody who probably wins a race from here on out in one of these prep races is going to be guaranteed a spot in the Derby. So maybe looking more to see where the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place horses end up as they continue to move on and progress on the trail to the Derby. And speaking of another contest and to see points and where we are, a lot of you remember that I am part of a fantasy tournament type stable league, I guess is the best way to call it, put on by Brooklyn Backstretch, which is a wonderful blog, and they've been doing this for 10 years now. Teresa Gennaro has done a wonderful job with it, and her writing is absolutely phenomenal as well. So definitely check that out. You just have to Google Brooklyn Backstretch, and you'll find the blog posts there and everything she writes about. But obviously they did put together this fantasy league. This is the first year I'm in it, and the beauty of it is that people donate, obviously, if they want you to get in on it, and all the money raised through it, through the top 3 finishers, will get to go to a horse charity or a racing charity of their choice. So, as everybody knows, I am playing for Pennsylvania Racehorse Rehoming, Rehabilitation, and Rescue. And so let's take a look right now to where the standings currently are. And unfortunately, as you can see, I have been kind of bumped from the top spot, but I'm obviously not out of it. I'm down to 3rd. But definitely, you know, still very much in the running, and we're going to try to see if we can get some of our other horses home here for par through about halfway through this contest now. And now, obviously, the point totals get much higher because obviously as the horses race for more points, we on the fantasy side are racing for more points too. So, you know, that's a very, very important thing and a great thing that they've really done there with this fantasy contest. So definitely check out Brooklyn Backstretch and all of that to see how all of that stuff is going on. And as I said, I was playing for, or I'm playing for, Pennsylvania Racehorse Rehoming, Rehabilitation, and Rescue, and they are commonly known as PAR. And PAR had took in a very, very special horse that I have profiled a little bit more through the Thorofan site that I also help out with than necessarily right here on Doc's Digest. But his name was Silent Ruler, and a lot of people have been asking how he's been doing since the last update we kind of gave, and I did want to give everybody a little bit more of an update on how he's doing. And for those that were unaware of what's been going on with Silent Ruler, as I pull up his little thing here, basically he was found in a state of severe neglect on the backstretch of Penn National. His trainers, who was his trainer-owner at the time, has had his license revoked by the Pennsylvania State Racing Commission, thanks mainly to the outpouring of anger at the Racing Commission for not initially doing enough there, but he did have his license revoked, which is a very good thing to see. And Ruler was suffering from a really, really severe injury to his right front leg because of neglect, and he was injured probably in his last race, and the trainer just basically did nothing about it. Treated him very, very mildly, thought he was doing something, I guess, to potentially help the horse, but it was just through a sheer group of lucky kind of miracles in a way that he kind of found his way to par, and that he was able to undergo life-saving surgery. So some of you have been asking exactly how he's doing, and you know, where does he stand in his recovery process. So I will share this with you right now as to where he's going and how he's doing and what the next steps are. A next to last place finish for Silent Ruler on August 26, 2017 was the end of a racing career for this $150,000 earning 6-year-old gelding, but just the beginning of another race, a race for survival. Likely suffering a severe fetlock injury in that race, and having that injury neglected by his connections for weeks with no adequate treatment, he was found in life-threatening condition that required immediate life-saving care by PAR's veterinarian and founder, Dr. Kate Papp, as well as a life-saving arthrodesis surgery by Dr. Jen Smith at the New Jersey Equine Center. Everyone has been profoundly affected by the story of Silent Ruler, from those in the racing industry to the average everyday animal lover. Some have been asking how he has been doing since his surgery and what the next step in his recovery is. To find out, I recently traveled to the New Jersey Equine Clinic to visit Ruler and see how he's doing. We're on the roads of Middle New Jersey, traveling through beautiful farm country here, and we're on our way to the New Jersey Equine Clinic and Dr. Jen Smith, who is an absolutely phenomenal surgeon, and we're going to pay a little visit and see how a very special horse that was taken in by PAR a couple of months ago is doing, and hopefully when he'll be able to go home. So I'm here standing outside the stall at the New Jersey Equine Clinic of an absolutely amazing horse named Silent Ruler. A lot of you have been following his progress, and here at PAR we wanted to go ahead and give you a little bit of an update as to how he's doing, what his prognosis is, and hopefully when he will be finally going to his forever home. So let's take a closer look. It hasn't been the easiest of recovery roads for Ruler, as after initially doing very well, he developed some nagging localized infection issues and never seemed 100% comfortable walking on his now fused front leg. The amazing Dr. Smith worked every day to see what could be done, and after feeling enough fusion in the joint had occurred, and also feeling the bone plate used was not sitting as perfect as it once was, she decided to remove the plate and provide Ruler with a cast to give additional support over the next 2 to 4 weeks. Feeling much more comfortable now and walking much better, it is hoped that he only has another 4 to 6 weeks of recovery in the hospital before being discharged. All of this has led to Ruler's bill unfortunately being more than the original estimate, of course, and even with a generous donation from the Jockey Club, we still need to raise an additional $4,000 to $6,000 to have all of his bills covered. Looking into that majestic eye of his, though, and seeing that fighting spirit, we know that he will be okay, and that all of you will once again rally for him by donating just that little bit more we need to get his bills totally paid and his story a happy ending of living out the sweet life in his own greener pastures. To help make sure we cover all of Silent Ruler's expenses, please visit PAR's website at paracehorse.org. Scroll down the homepage till you get to the Donate Now button, click on it, and then make your donation. Please put For Jet or For Silent Ruler in the designation section so we make sure your donation goes to his care. And once again, from all of us at PAR, and especially from Silent Ruler, thank you. So that is kind of, just taking a look there as I just kind of take one thing off here real quick so you guys don't hear kind of like a double thing going on. Let me just get rid of that. There we go. All right. So yeah, thank you to everybody who has definitely donated towards Silent Ruler's care. He's doing really, really well. Further update from that, because that was actually a couple of weeks ago that I was down there to see him. He is just about ready to come back to the rescue. He'll probably be picked up in the next week or so, where his rehab of hand walking and things like that will continue. And then hopefully a couple of weeks after that, he'll finally be on his way to his forever home. So, thank you for supporting aftercare and all the work that PAR and all the rescues out there do, to give these horses a second chance once they come off the racetrack and things like that. But we're going to head back to the racetrack now, and obviously, it's not just the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Derby Trail that have big races going on this time of year. There's room for the older horses as well, and so one of the big races that happened this little while ago was the Big Cap, the Santa Anita Handicap as they call it, and we are going to take a look at to see what happened in that race, a mile and a quarter. $600,000 purse, 4-year-olds and up. Maybe not the super star older horse, because a lot of them are waiting for Dubai. And Gunrunner obviously is retired, but still, chance for somebody to make a big name for themselves. It still is a Grade 1 race, so let's see what happened in the Big Cap.
Racing. And Giant Expectations had a stumbling getaway from Gate 4. He was very poorly served as the gate sprung open. The inside pair, top of the game, and Prime Attraction come out cleanly. Mubtahij is going fast down the outside. Then comes Curlin Road, and he's followed closely by Accelerate. Then Giant Expectations around to Fear the Cowboy. Mubtahij in front, greeting the judges with a circuit to negotiate. By 1 length, Accelerate, top of the game on the inside. Prime Attraction easing back a joint 4th, with Curlin Road pushing between horses and Giant Expectations out wide. 3 lengths off the lead past the 7/8 pole. Fear the Cowboy, 3 lengths last. Mubtahij, with the blinkers off, nonetheless has the role of pacemaker in the Big Cap, and he takes them into the back stretch by 1 length. Accelerate, followed by top of the game. Giant Expectations gradually improving his position. He gets to 4th, 2.5 lengths off the pace. Then Prime Attraction together with Curlin Road, and Fear the Cowboy is last of all with 7 lengths to pick up. Less than 5/8 from home. Mubtahij in the front. Accelerate, enjoying smooth transit along the back stretch this afternoon. He's perched second. Giant Expectations is third, top of the game the inside, niggled along. 1.5 lengths to Fear the Cowboy, picking off a couple from the rear as he moves by Curlin Road and Prime Attraction. 3/8 left to go. Accelerate comes to Mubtahij. Giant Expectations running a giant race after that setback at the break. He's up on terms with Accelerate coming to the quarter pole. Top of the game is 4th, and then Fear the Cowboy trying to rally from the rear, but still 5 lengths out of it. It's Accelerate turning away Giant Expectations at the top of the lane. He establishes a 1.5 length lead. Mubtahij battling on as Giant Expectations flattens out. He's peaked on his run. Fear the Cowboy is a distant 4th, followed by top of the game, but past the 8th pole comes Accelerate with an unassailable lead in the Santa Anita Handicap. John Sadler has his Big Cap. Accelerate by 5 lengths. Mubtahij second. Fear the Cowboy 6 away third from Giant Expectations, and top of the game was 5th.
Well, congratulations to Accelerate and all his connections. Obviously, ran a very, very stellar race in the mud there. Mubtahij fell back a little bit, came back on. Again, probably not the cream of the handicap division crop, but certainly an exciting race nonetheless. Don't always have to have the big superstars, folks, to get really, really exciting races and things like that. And that's what's gonna happen as we look at the next race in our sequence here, and that is going to be the Santa Margarita. And this was supposed to be another big race because everybody was waiting to see Unique Bella come out and make the second start of her 4-year-old campaign. Unfortunately, got sidelined just for a couple of days with a cough, so wasn't able to go ahead and run, but that did open up a race like this to a lot of other fillies to hopefully get in there and take a shot at it. So we are going to take a look to see what happened in the Santa Margarita.
Bishop's Pond, third, Mistress of the Night, fourth inside Majestic Heat. And now Gutierrez finds the fence on Mopatism. Midfield, 5 off the lead, and Fault right there on his outside. They're followed onto the back stretch by Eccentric Spinster, Dalsaros next to last, and La Force trails. They're covered by a dozen lengths, mended by a head Turkish Tabby, 2 lengths Bishop's Pond. A length Mistress of the Night on the inside, Majestic Heat running 5th at the half mile. From Mopatism and Fault, 2.5 lengths Eccentric Spinster, 3 more to La Force, and Dalsaros on the outside. It's mended and Turkish Tabby dueling into the far turn by 3 lengths. Bishop's Pond being shaken up third, is struggling at this point. Mopatism's coming through along the rail, and out wide a Majestic Heat in the red cap, and out very wide Fault is circling into contention. Mistress of the Night's just in behind horses now at the quarter pole, and mended finally shake clear of Turkish Tabby. Now has to deal with the looming presence of Fault. Fault moving up powerfully on the outside, hits the lead at the top of the stretch in the Santa Margarita from Mended, and then Mopatism coming to third from Majestic Heat, Turkish Tabby and La Force. But at the 16th pole, Fault has shot away by 5 lengths. Fault is finding no fault with the Golden State. 2 for 2 in California. 1 stakes win on turf, the other on dirt. Wins by 6. From Mended, third's either Mopatism or La Force, and they were clear of Majestic Heat.
I guess you could say you could find no fault with that performance. Fault's very, very impressive winning the Santa Margarita there. She probably was one of the few that was really bred to get that distance of ground. And, you know, again, wasn't really beating a stellar field or anything like that. We don't have a lot of really good second-tier fillies and mares right now, at least that are coming up and running in some of these races. So, but still, exciting race nonetheless. Definitely a race, you know, that you could have made some money on, and, you know, trying to find those diamonds in the rough. So, moving right along with the fillies here. The next one that we're going to take a look at at Oaklawn, same day as the Rebel, it is the Azeri Stakes. And so let's take a look at what happened in that one.
They're at the post. Tiger Moth, Restless. Gonna back Tiger Moth out. Let her get reset. Right back in. They're set. They're off. Actress broke a stride slow. Farrell and Terra Promessa, without being sent, are going to the front. Blue Prize going to press 3 deep. These 3 are quickest into stride. Streamline has already made her way to the rail with Martini Glass just outside of her. Then it's Actress and Sandy's Surprise, and Tiger Moth at the back of the pack, already 10 lengths first to last as they turn into the backstretch in the 32nd. Azeri and Farrell going to try to go it all the way. Farrell is on the lead, and it's a length and a quarter and a measured lead at that from Terra Promessa in second. Blue Prize and Martini Glass are third and fourth, and 3 off the lead. Streamline, the defending champion, is fifth. She's got 6 lengths to make up and a length and a half in front of Actress. Then comes Tiger Moth. She's out of last place. That is position is held by Sandy's Surprise. Still 12 lengths first to last as they leave the backstretch. Farrell has the lead. Terra Promessa much closer now in second. Farrell only leads a half length. Terra Promessa is second by a length and a half to Martini Glass and Blue Prize. Actress just ran right by Streamline. And here's Actress the Gray up into fifth and 3 from the front. Streamline's trying to go with her, but Actress is doing better than her. Top of the stretch, wide open Farrell. Terra Promessa, Martini Glass. Here's the seam for Actress, and she's 2 from the front. Blue Prize didn't fire, and Martini Glass has taken the lead. A final furlong for Martini Glass, and now she is 2.5 in front. Farrell battles on. Actress to the outside only for a minor award as Martini Glass runs away and wins the Azeri. Martini Glass won by 2.5. Actress did get second.
We'll go ahead and raise a toast and a glass to Martini Glass there after that very, very impressive and emphatic win. I probably would have liked to see a little more from Terra Promessa, considering she, you know, probably had one of the better trips, you know, and was running the way that she normally likes to run. But hey, can't take anything away from the winner, Martini Glass, and we'll curious to see where she ends up as we move forward through the filly and mare races as the year progresses. So the final race that we're going to look at for the fillies and mares, the older mares, is the Inside Information, run at Gulfstream Park this past weekend, actually yesterday as a matter of fact. And so let's take a look and see what happened in this Grade 2 event.
And they're off in the Inside Information. From the outside, Rich Mommy was away well, moving out the rail. Here's Ivy Bell up the challenge for the top. Minds and Magic is not far away, and racing between horses is Moonlit Promise as they leave the chute and hook up with the main course. It's Rich Mommy who leads by a neck over Minds and Magic and Moonlit Promise. Now Castellano has to take hold of Ivy Bell. She'll get a tracking spot toward the rail with Blue Collar on her outside. Jordan Senny the Gray is between horses, and 2.5 to Just Be Kind, who's last of the 7 as they race to the half-mile point. It's Gary Boulanger and Moonlit Promise with a narrow lead. Rich Mommy right back at her. Minds and Magic is perched 3 wide, ready to strike. Down at the rail in 4th is Ivy Bell ahead of Blue Collar. Jordan Senny's in the 2-path. Very much in range. So is the trailing here. Just Be Kind, last of the 7, but there's no more than 3.5 from first to last, as this will turn into a 5/16 sprint for the money. Rich Mommy has the lead. Moonlit Promise the first to come under pressure. Blue Collar in the red cap is 4 wide. Ivy Bell's got no place to go. She's hemmed in traffic pretty badly here. And up on the outside, Jordan Senny as they straighten for home. On the outside in Minds and Magic, Jordan Senny the Gray let loose on the stand side. Ivy Bell has to peel 5 wide, but she's in the clear now. Ivy Bell tries to get to Jordan Senny, and she might do it. Here's Ivy Bell surging on the outside under very confident handling, and Ivy Bell, despite traffic, wins the Inside Information.
All right, how much of a much the best winner was Ivy Bell in that race? I mean, just totally bottled up, full of run the entire time, had to swing 4 or 5 wide through the stretch, which, you know, really causes them to lose a little momentum, then have to gain that momentum again in that final furlong, 1/8 of a mile, and just a really, really impressive performance. So hats off to Ivy Bell's connections and Castellano for riding a great race there and getting her up right at the wire when, you know, as soon as she saw daylight, man, she was gone. So that was the Inside Information, as we talked about, and a lot of people may wonder, well, why is the race called the Inside Information exactly? What does that mean, and who was Inside Information? A lot of the newer fans may not really know who Inside Information was, but we are going to let you know, so this way you are fully informed as we take a look at the name behind the race. When talking about some of the great race mares of the 1990s, many think of perhaps Sky Beauty, or even Serena Song. However, there is another mare who often gets overlooked in this discussion, and that is Inside Information. Never finishing worse than 3rd, and winning 14 of her 17 starts, she truly can be considered one of the best racing mares of the later half of the 20th century. A homebred of the famous Phipps stable, and owned by Ogden Mills' Dinny Phipps, she was sired by private account, and her dam was the Phipps homebred Pure Profit, who was a son of Belmont Stakes winner Key to the Mint. She was trained by Hall of Famer Shug McGahee, and ridden by another Hall of Famer, and none other than one of the best in the game, Mike Smith. Breaking her maiden at first asking in the fall of 1993, she did lose her next race, but then went on to have a very successful 3-year-old campaign with wins in the Bonnie Miss, the Ashland, and here in the Acorn Stakes, showing her true love for the mud, something that would surely help her in a later conquest.
But it's Inside Information giving them the slip. Under a hand ride, Mike Smith takes a peek back, and the competition's 5 lengths away. It's Cinnamon Sugar, who's now moved into 2nd. And Sovereign Kitty is 3rd. But Inside Information, Smith really never moved on her. She handled the off-track today, and she handled the competition with devastating ease. On to this 4th.
It really wasn't until her 4-year-old season, though, that she really started to shine through. As she reeled off victories in Grade 1 after Grade 1, including wins in the Shoe
and here at Belmont, and it is Inside Information, and Inside Information has plenty left. Sky Beauty will be 2nd here this afternoon in the Shoe handicap. Inside Information, emphatically by 5.
The Ruffian.
Inside Information, Mike Smith just took
a peek back. The competition's nowhere. Unlawful behavior, though, still holding for second. On the outside, Jade Flush putting in a belated bid and Cinnamon Sugar. But it will be inside information. She never broke a sweat today. She cruises under the line to win by 10.
And a game victory over a stubborn long-shot rival in the Spinster Stakes at Keeneland.
Outside, Mariah Storm is third with a furlong to run. Jade Flush inside information. Those two right together. Then Mariah Storm. They're nearing the wire. Jade Flush hanging on the inside, on the outside. Inside information puts her head in front at the wire. Inside information wins the Spinster by a head.
All of those wins set her up for a showdown with her famous stablemate, Heavenly Prize, and the top Lucas filly, Serena Song, among others, in the 1995 Breeders' Cup Distaff. It was to be Inside Information's last race, and she left no doubt about what the outcome would be in this one.
And Serena's Song struggling back in third. It's a big break back to the rest of the field. Inside information, turning it into a runaway. Mike Smith asked her for a run, and in an instant, the response was devastating. Inside information. Oh, look at this! A colossal victory! And Heavenly Prize, her stablemate, will be second. Inside information won by a dozen lengths.
She was retired to Claiborne Farm, and although many of the foals she produced developed an unfortunate neurologic condition called wobblers, which prevented them from making it to the racetrack, she did produce one spectacular filly that was sired by Unbridled. Her name was Smuggler, and she went on to have a very successful career of her own for the Phipps stable, winning many stakes races, including the Coaching Club American Oaks, as can be seen here.
On the outside, Smuggler has taken the lead in mid-stretch, and now she's beginning to prevail. Summerly trying to hold second. Spun Sugar is third. The others well behind and struggling. And they're inside the final 16th. Edgar Prado keeping Smuggler's mind on her business. And they've done it. They've won the Coaching Club American Oaks by 3 emphatic lengths.
In 2009, following her 2008 induction into the Racing Hall of Fame, Gulfstream Park renamed the Shirley Jones Handicap the Inside Information in her honor. It now stands as an important early race of the year for older fillies and mares. Sadly, Inside Information passed away from the infirmaries of old age last October at Claiborne Farm. We are left with lasting memories of her greatness, though, seeing her splash home a record-setting winner in that final start on Breeders' Cup Day. This education segment brought to you by Thorofan. Check out Thorofan.com to learn everything about this amazing sport we call thoroughbred racing, and to become a member today. Thorofan, giving the fans a voice. Alright, we are back with the answer to Doc's Racing Trivia. A little bit earlier in the show, we did ask you exactly how long is a furlong. You hear it all the time in the racing world, the furlong pole, they got a furlong to go. Well, if you answered 1/8 of a mile, you were right. Or you could have said 660 feet, 220 yards, 40 rods, or 10 chains. What do those last two exactly mean? Oh, I'll let you look that up for yourself, you eager beavers. However, you may wonder exactly what the furlong pole looks like. You can see it here. It's usually a black and white pole, sometimes can be green and white as well, and it marks 1/8 of a mile increments on the racetrack. You'll see it in the stretch drive in that final long 1/8 of a mile to go. So next time, when you're meeting up your friends at the track, you can say, I'll meet you in the stretch by the furlong pole. You'll know what it means, and hopefully, after you explain it to them, they will too. Thanks for playing. I bet you that title maybe got your attention a little bit, and basically what Doc's discussion points are going to be for this week's show surround basically the story that was brought out by both the Daily Racing Forum and the Pollock Report, that the Breeders' Cup Board, when they were meeting, were considering a proposal that was brought to them by one of their committees to basically split the Breeders' Cup even further than it's been split already, and have a very... it could only be described as an odd setup that they wanted to set up here, where basically they wanted to put the Breeders' Cup Classic, the 2 juvenile races, and I believe the Sprint or potentially one of the others, on a completely separate card in December down at Gulfstream, and then on Breeders' Cup weekend, in the place of the Classic and all of those races, they would have a special race just for 3-year-olds that would be like the Breeders' Cup Derby, I suppose, as one final 3-year-old only race for the year. Thankfully, this idea did not go forward, and there was a lot of talk about certain board members who originally were not going to vote against it because they were worried about angering other board members like Bobby Flay, which makes absolutely no sense to me. You were creating a situation where, and again, I'm looking at this both from a racing standpoint and a fan standpoint, you could not do something to screw the fans more with a setup like that. People are not going to travel to both locations. You're putting the Breeders' Cup Classic at a venue that is not big enough to support an event like that at Gulfstream. This almost seemed like just like a power grab by Gulfstream, just wanting to bring it down there and have it only for the elite to be able to attend. And it brings to point a larger issue that's going on in the industry right now. And I get it to an extent. The Breeders' Cup, obviously the breeders and the owners, they put the money into the funds, and you know, they definitely want to be represented and wined and dined. And I get that. I really do. And it's very important to look at that. However, you cannot keep, in this industry, squeezing out and shutting out the average fan. And that's what a lot of these events, and it's not just the Breeders' Cup, it's some of these other bigger time events and creating these huge stakes race days, which, again, from a handle perspective and all of that other stuff, obviously looks very good to the tracks. However, you're basically telling the average fan, you know, you shouldn't be here. You know, we want to cater to the high society and things like that. And you're taking away amazing opportunities for the average people to come in and really get up close with these horses, to really see the star horses run, because you're pricing them out of the ability to do it. And that's just not fair to the average fan base of this industry. You've got to be able to cater to both subsets. And again, I get it. You want to bring in a higher class person, apparently, and you want to definitely wine and dine them, and they will be able to pay the higher fees and things like that. But you can't shut out the everyday bettor. You can't shut out the everyday fan. The people that you really want to talk about attracting to this sport. You can't do it by saying, well, you can just always show up at the track whenever, but for these big race events, then just watch it on TV. Don't come out to the track. People don't understand how great it is to just be out at the racetrack on a big racing day. Just the excitement is electric. Just the being able to get up there and see the horses up close and see these stars that sometimes they've only seen on TV in person. See some of these jockeys that maybe they've only seen on TV up close and in person. It's just such an amazing sport to get involved in, and the industry just seems to want to shoot itself in the foot all the time by trying to set up situations where the average fan can't get to experience these things. There has to be a way to be able to do it from both ends. And there is a way, and you just have to be able also to listen to some of the fans and not these closed committees on Breeders' Cup boards that want to go ahead and just make all these decisions that they think are going to be great for the game when really they're only looking out for their own interests. They're not looking out for the best interests of the sport overall, and I'm sure there's going to be other ideas that are going to pop up like this. And it goes to a greater issue that a lot of us have brought up before, which is there is no fan representation on any of these entities or boards. It just seems like people this industry wants to screw the fan left and right as much as they can and just figure we're going to keep coming back. And that's not going to happen. You know, these racing boards, these racing commissions, these Breeders' Cup boards, all of these groups have to start embracing the fan. EquestriaCon is a great start to that, and I hope that there actually maybe are a couple of panel discussions on this and how fans can become more involved in the day-to-day decision-making when it comes to these big race days, because the industry really needs that input and that perspective. And if they keep just trying to do these closed committee meeting things, which they think are going to be good for the sport because they're looking at handle going up, and I understand that's a huge part of it, but us as fans, hey, we contribute 20%, you know, of our betting dollars to your industry at minimum. You know, that's a blended takeout rate. So, you know, just consider the fan when you make some of these decisions, and thankfully this Breeders' Cup idea is not going to go forward, but I am kind of sitting there waiting to see what kind of insane idea they're going to come up with next to try to both dilute the Breeders' Cup out, which it doesn't need more of, and potentially screw the fans in the process. So that's my discussion points for this week's show. Curious to know what you think. Drop me a line at shelterdoc38@yahoo.com. Again, shelterdoc38@yahoo.com. And it'll be really interesting to see what some of your thoughts are. I have a funny feeling a lot of you are actually going to agree with me on this one. But I am always open to discussing things and having other points of view. So that is about going to do it for this week's show. Next week we are going to, I said I was going to try to get to Dubai this week, ran out of time. We are going to focus on Dubai a lot next week and all the horses that are going for that. We're going to look at some other things that may be going on in the industry. I do apologize, this show ran a little long because I was trying to catch up on everything that's been going on. We'll look at any Derby preps and some other races that are going out there, and we'll maybe talk about some other things in the industry. So if you have a topic that maybe you'd like covered here on Doc's Racing Digest, again, drop me a line, shelterdoc38@yahoo.com, shelterdoc38@yahoo.com, or go ahead and put it in the comments lines here of the video. I am always looking for things, and we are going to continue to tinker with the format of this show. I may go a little bit less towards the racing coverage, more towards industry coverage as well, just to try to present a fan's view and maybe a little bit more education as we go. So again, thank you for tuning in to Doc's Racing Digest. I will see you next week, and may all of the photo finishes in your life have you coming out on the right side of the bob.
One of the racehorse rescues that is very near and dear to Doc and many people in the Mid-Atlantic region is Pennsylvania Racehorse Rehoming, Rehabilitation, and Rescue. Check out PAR today and see all the amazing things that they have done as they take all these horses from the racetrack to the ribbons and to wonderful second careers. Support PAR today. Is a proud member of the organization Thorofan, the only nationally recognized fan organization for thoroughbred racing. Check out Thorofan.com today and find out all the amazing things there are to learn about this great sport of thoroughbred horse racing, and also how to become a member and add your voice today. Thorofan, giving the fans a voice.